I think the only thing that maybe we can talk about City as a talking point other than football, or maybe towards a small little critic towards them. Did you hear that Grealish and Phil Foden had a night out?
So yeah, Grealish and Foden had a night out after Leeds, and they didn't turn up to
Yeah.
training in the right conditions. So Guardiola dropped them basically, which I found like completely hilarious. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Al and Jerry podcast, football podcast. So yeah, guys, it's been a week since we've done our last video, and as you know, the whole situation with COVID and new variant Omicron in the UK, I think has been affecting some of the teams, right? So as you know, a lot of matches have been cancelled. A lot of teams as well. Not right now. We've reached match week 18, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's 18 matches played, and a lot of teams have not reached that. Like, for example, Leicester, they're on 16 matches played, United on 16, and even Spurs on 16. So things have been stretched a bit thin. I mean, in terms of the teams right now, as you can see,
hello
like,
everyone.
cases and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
It has been. It's been a bit of a different weekend of football over the past weekend. I think
yeah,
some games going on, some games not going on, and leads us to talk a little bit about the situation that's happening in the UK and whether or not it's going to be reverting back to, apparently, I don't know whether you've heard about this or not, Jerry, but apparently there might be an imminent lockdown in the UK as well. So that's going to be an interesting thing as to what's going to be happening in the game towards the Premier League games as well. But lucky enough for us, there were some games that did go on, and teams like Leicester, Man United, and all of this. Yeah, I guess you do get the feeling where, as a fan of football, whatever team it is, you always rather your team play. It's always the points on the board, isn't it? Rather than having games in hand. I know. Some teams would say, some fans would say, hey, games in hand they come in important, handy towards the ending bit of the season. But I rather have points on the board. Right now, Jerry. I mean, points on the board is always better, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the whole game in hand thing, it will just pack your fixture list, towards the business end of the season, when things are getting like a lot more, tougher. Things like, games are coming hard and fast, right? Then you'd have to fit games there. So it all depends on how they organize the fixture list, right? So if, let's say, the games happen at a time which is ideal for everybody, let's say like you're playing Champions League, and you have to fit in the game somewhere during a weekday. Let's say if you're on a winning streak, that might be good, for the team. But let's say you're on a losing streak and you're losing players and you're not, your form has been up and down, then it may be a disaster, but I'm sure every manager, every player, every staff will want to follow the original schedule.
Yeah, they would rather play.
For. Exactly, that's what they train for. And just reading some of the news here, it says Premier League finally reveals latest vaccination figures, with 16% of top flight footballers not having had no jabs at all, but 92 of staff and players combined having at least one. So there is a 16% there of players yet to receive their first dosage. So, in Germany, for example, like let's look at across Europe, Germany's Bundesliga have revealed that 94% of players and staff are vaccinated, while Italy's Serie A's vaccination rate is 98%. So, I mean, I think with England and some of the players, definitely, I think we have to bring into the fact that the human rights thing and vaccine is a free choice. But as some of the managers have spoken out in this, and they say that, they have to listen to scientists and the medical experts when making these decisions, and not footballers, managers, and staff. They should not be asked about this whole situation. Their opinions don't really matter. Our opinions don't really matter unless we've had some sort of medical background and can give a medical professional opinion.
I just to mirror whatever you said, I saw this tweet the other day, and this guy says he doesn't know what's inside Panadol, but he knows it cures his headaches. He doesn't know what's inside a KFC fried chicken and what their spices are, but still it tastes good. And so hence he's not going to be questioning what's in the vaccine, and he's just going to be taking it. I think with the human rights thing, it's quite interesting, whatever you mentioned, because it's a freedom of choice, but I think it's also something where footballers especially, they have to now understand, do you rather play or do you rather sit on the bench or, be cautioned not to play? And again,
Yeah, be
I think
forced to
every
spend half the
footballer,
season on the sidelines, basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if the vaccination is going to be the only solution towards that, I think, well, the answer becomes very simple then. And I think that largely it has proven to be successful, if not, a solution towards COVID. So why not take it? And I think Klopp's been very vocal about this over a couple of press conferences, and I think that's very good because the Premier League, I saw that stat, across Europe, I think they were one of the lowest with the
Full
vaccination rates.
basically 2
Yeah.
doses. So 77% of the Premier League players have received 2 doses of the COVID vaccines and are classed as fully vaccinated. In a bid to allow for greater transparency, the Premier League said that from January, they will publish vaccination results at the end of each month. But what I think is they should basically just look to their colleagues, and see how it's working out for them. And like I said, you can't do this individually. Let's say if you work for a league, you work for a team, I think you have to all be in it together, right?
Definitely.
If not, you have to find some other job basically where you're working for yourself, I think if you're working for a big company, if you're working for big corporations, if you're working for, like, let's say you're a player and you're working for, you're playing for Liverpool or you're playing for Manchester, you're also working for the league, and the FA, basically, the FA is the one that's, overseeing everything that the players do and even the off-field things, even, and more so the on-field stuff. But, I think everyone just has to pull together and understand that it may be an individual choice, but there will be wide repercussions, as much as it's an individual choice. I think
it's not just towards the person alone.
Exactly. The repercussions, it affects everybody. So your choice affects everyone. So that's why your choice has to be the right choice. And I don't think we're going to speak too much about this, Al, because there are still games to cover. And, it's not our thing, man. We just want to talk about football,
we're
forced to mention this. But it's important, guys, for some sort of reflection and some sort of, just to think smart and make the right decision, not just for yourself, but for everybody around you. Because the only way we're going to defeat this thing, the only way we're going to overcome it is together, as long as we stand together, stand united, as all the teams and fans know, divided you fall, and do you want to fall with this, that's the only issue. But yeah, speaking about the matches and the games, Harry Kane, mate. Harold, England captain. He doesn't, they don't need a VAR check whenever he goes in. He goes in full force, 2-footed, whatever. I think England captains get a special.
No, England captains get a special rebate.
Because the moment the Scottish captain did something, like, they had to check it and they had to make sure that, and they had to send him off. So as you know, guys, Spurs played Liverpool over the weekend, and it was their game after a long time. And I have to say it was a really good game for the neutrals. Obviously, Spurs seem to have had their full team on paper, obviously with playing a 5 at the back and a 3-man midfield with Ndombele, wings, Ali, and with Kane and Son leading the front line. Obviously, Liverpool missing Van Dijk, Henderson, and Fabinho. Very much the spine of this
the
team.
engine.
Yeah, very much the spine, the engine of this team this season. I think one thing that Henderson and Fabinho do, and they work well together with Van Dijk, is that they cover the spaces that are left in behind when the team attacks. And they cover the spaces well in terms of ball retention and keeping the possession. And that's what I think Liverpool might have missed on the day. Obviously, Milner, Morton, and Keita are not their first choice, but obviously found themselves having to manage the game a lot, I felt, because a lot of the times they would push forward, create this attacking transitions, right? And Spurs would basically, their 5-man defense, I think, worked really well to nullify the Liverpool attack. And then when Liverpool were hit then on the counter, it was just Son and Kane basically on their bikes, just terrorizing them basically, and finding all the spaces left in behind by Konate and Matip, and definitely I think they struggled to cover that. I think Spurs had the better chances, Liverpool had
Yeah.
more shots on target on the day, but Spurs seemed to have had the more clinical chances, and I felt that Spurs could have killed off the game.
Do you
But
remember the Harry Kane one? The one
Um,
where I think Son passed it to him and all he
Yeah.
needed to do was just to rifle it to the net.
yeah, he
but
took
Alisson
he
made
took a
it.
touch, and Alisson was in the way basically. He put his whole
Yeah.
body in the way of that. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of the Dele Alli one.
Oh, yeah.
The Dele Alli one was like everybody expected him to score that. I think and he was like he was prime Dele Alli, because the thing is what made Dele Alli the player he is today is those runs into the box, isn't it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
As an attacking midfielder and anticipating the chance. And he did that a few times, but he just couldn't finish. And maybe it just shows his form at the moment. He's not that clinical, cutting edge Dele Alli that he used to be. Definitely he's finding his feet back. But what can you tell us from the match, Al? Who do you think were the better team on the day?
Well, that's going to be a tough question. I think looking at it on the balance of everything, I think 2-2 was a fair result to a certain extent, I think. But I was looking before the game, I was very interested as to how Conte is going to approach this, because if I'm not mistaken, this would have been Spurs and Conte's first real test since Conte joined Spurs. And the way I looked at it, I think both Klopp and Conte sort of cancelled out each other in a lot of ways. I think Conte played in a very offensive style that is going to be attacking Liverpool's high line, which obviously contributed to 2 goals. I know the second one was a little bit of a mistake on the end of the goalkeeper, but sometimes when we say cancel out each other, we're always talking about 0-0, but I think this cancel out each other talks about 2-2. So it was an interesting game at the end of the day. I thought, honestly, I think Spurs, of course, given the whole season that they've had and they've been poor under Espirito Santo, I thought they had a somewhat good game. I thought it was interesting. I was very I was thinking people like Harry Kane. I mean, we're going to talk about the talking point in a bit, but Harry Wings, even Ndombele, the pass for the first goal, I thought was fantastic. Eye of the needle sort of passing. So Spurs, on the end of the day, I think because of the season they had, if I'm just going to be choosing either between one, I thought Spurs had the better game, given the fact that they not favourites in the game and obviously a weaker team and so on. But Liverpool also, I think, at the end of the day, I think this is a grinding out of a result sort of a game. I thought Salah had maybe somewhat of a slightly quieter game. Obviously, we know his standards. So obviously the standards are very high with him. Mane, I thought, had a good first half spell. The time when the 35-minute onwards until the halftime whistle, I thought Liverpool were really pressuring and Mane was trying as much as he could. But yeah, I mean, just to earmark whatever you said, I think Van Dijk, Henderson, Fabinho, those fellas really much the engine of the team that on an attacking level for Liverpool to progress the ball forward. I think that was missing. That was somewhat the missing link in the team to speak about. But I think we're going to have to talk about tackling and the red card and everything to do with that, because I'm going to get your thoughts, obviously, Jerry, but I'll tell you what I think. Okay. And obviously, the way I look at it, I think both people should have gotten sent off. The way I look at it, I think Harry Kane, because of precedence. I think if you're going to send off people in the past for having done similar tackles, you remember Pogba against Liverpool at Old Trafford, the 5-0 game, and things like that. So I guess precedence would definitely tell you that Harry Kane needs to get sent off. I mean, it looks very blatant. And again, in first time, when you view it first time on, I guess referees can miss it. But today we're talking about VAR and everything. So
because the decision didn't even go to VAR. They didn't.
He didn't. Yeah. That's the thing, I've been crying out for some consistency for refereeing for a while now. I think you also know this. And this is again, it's not helping, because I thought after the Euros they were fantastic. The way VAR was projected was really, really good. But English referees sometimes, I guess, I don't know whether it's wanting to get into the spotlight. I don't get the idea because
Mhm.
Robertson also, I thought when I looked at it, looking at it after VAR, I guess if we're talking about this in 1998, then definitely I don't think it might not even be a yellow card to begin with. But
May
I
not even be a
guess
foul, actually.
yeah, might not even be a foul, but we're talking about it today, and I guess the dangerous laws of the game, the side of the game where it talks about danger and everything, I guess, yeah, fine, could be a red card. I don't know whether any of our viewers have watched this before, but a quick YouTube searching would just go on to the highlights of the past games between Balotelli and Francesco Totti, and Totti kicked Balotelli somewhat similarly. Of course, Totti had more intent. For our viewers, just check that out. It's worthy of your time. But yeah, I guess referees made a bit of a mistake. Harry Kane should have gotten sent off. I really believe so. Robertson correctly got sent off also. Maybe a little bit harsh. I think debatable for Andy Robertson. But Harry Kane's one, because of precedence, should have been a red card. Now, tell me what you think, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, because the thing is, I think the reason that Paul Tierney gave was that Robertson's leg was not planted, so he managed to jump and ride the challenge, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the bottom line is Harry Kane's foot was high and it was studs high, and studs showing basically foot was high and he didn't get the ball. That's like the three things that would warrant a red card.
Warrant a red card.
When you tackle without getting the ball and your studs are high and you catch the player basically above the ankle, that's something that's a challenge that could warrant a red card. Obviously, Robertson would have been thinking, so basically if I planted my leg and got my leg broken, then maybe like Harry Kane would have got the red card,
Yeah.
So you see, the players can take measures to avoid challenges like this, but the whole intention of making a challenge like that, I think, has to be checked,
Yeah,
for me,
definitely.
to be honest, if I was being completely honest, right, I think both situations could have not been a red card. I mean, in a perfect world, both situations. I mean, thankfully, thank God that Andy Robertson jumped, avoided the tackle, so it wasn't that bad, right? Even with Emerson Royal, I think Emerson, that's a part of Emerson's Royal game, like in terms of looking for fouls, because he has the job of going up and down that flank. And sometimes to retain possession, he's going to have to invite a foul and everything like that. Obviously, I think Robertson came in with excessive force, and I understand the red card being given. I mean, I think his actions gave the referees the opportunity to make that decision. Right?
More of the intent, I think.
I'm just thinking about back in the day, where you could get away with it, as long as nobody gets like injured and everything. But what I was disappointed with Paul Tierney, and I felt was really spoiled the game, was that he had given 7 yellow cards in the first half. Right? And this was really disappointing, even as a neutral, me watching it. Giving 7 yellow cards in your first half in the Liverpool and Tottenham game. This is not some derby.
Mike Dean wouldn't do that.
Crazy derby. This is not some like old firm derby. Liverpool versus Man United, Liverpool versus Everton, City versus United. It's not that derby which is rough and you need to control. You give 7 yellow cards in the first half. Obviously, the second half there's going to be a lot of tension. Right? I think Paul Tierney's game management on day was really poor because, okay, fine. You have 7 yellow cards given by the end of the game. I mean, man was giving out cards like it's Christmas. I have to say it. Paul Tierney on that day, referee of Liverpool and Tottenham, was giving out cards like it's Christmas. He was playing Uno with those cards, man. He was just dropping cards left, right, center. And I felt that created tension during the game, and it was just unnecessary. It definitely spoiled the flow of the game because like I saw players with first challenges, tough, it was a tactical foul, and they get a yellow card. And then they can't make tackles throughout the game, and there's this tension basically. I feel the tension build up in that first half culminated in that whole situation in the second half where Andy Robertson went in and basically, and that whole situation happened. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
felt it was poor game management, and referees need to be careful. You can't be giving off like 7, 8, 9, 10 yellow cards in the first half. You're gonna spoil the match.
Yeah, yeah.
Let the game flow in the first half.
Let the
And in
game
the
flow.
second half, basically give them the warnings and basically warn them. And in the second half, this happens again, then But yeah, guys, I mean, you as our fans, you would know, and I'm sure y'all would have your opinions. But I think definitely, like Al said, I think precedence there. If Kane's foot is high, I think he escaped punishment there, and like Al said, he pointed to the Pogba example. And this was one of the discussions on TalkSport on that day, or I don't think, sorry, not TalkSport. It was on Poet and Vuja's channel. I was watching the video, and basically they were saying like if it was Pogba who had done that challenge, and basically a player with with
Sort
a
of like
target on his back, and not England captain and blah blah blah. I think the referees would have checked it and they would have sent off the player. I feel because it's Harry Kane, I think he got away with it.
No, this sort of prejudice has got to stop if it's real.
Yeah,
if it's real,
exactly.
I know, definitely has to stop. I mean, just because he's England captain, right? I mean, it doesn't warrant you any sort of like treatment, this sort of a basis and all of those things, but one thing you mentioned, Christmas cards. I don't know whether our viewers and of course yourself watched the post match, or rather after the final whistle. So I think it's safe to say that Jurgen Klopp is not going to be on Paul Tierney's Christmas wish list, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, don't think he'll be getting any Christmas cards. They're probably getting clopped on the head, like we said, So moving on from that match, obviously the big match of the weekend, and definitely a lot of talking points there to be discussed. I wanted to basically give plaudits to Arsenal and Gabriel Martinelli. Wow, what a performance!
Oh yeah,
It's like he never left, man. Gabriel Martinelli, best Brazilian on the pitch on the day, because everybody was speaking about Rafinha and everybody forgot about Gabriel Martinelli, But definitely Arsenal with a 4-1 victory, I think was a very convincing victory over Leeds. Leeds didn't have many chances. I think they didn't have many chances except for the penalty situation.
The penalty,
seemed like a clear penalty. But in that first half, great performance from that full Arsenal team. Specifically, Martinelli, Odegaard, and Xhaka. I think Xhaka got the assist for the second goal. Odegaard got assist for the fourth goal, and basically just kept the play moving. Lacazette leading the line there, definitely, and captain on the day as well. And Bukayo Saka also weighing in with a goal, and an all-round solid performance from everybody. Ramsdale didn't have much to do except for that penalty situation, which Rafinha obviously buried into the top corner. But I found it very interesting, to be honest, looking at that team sheet, because Arteta went at a 4-2-3-1, right? Usually he would go with a 4-4-2 or, but he obviously trusts the Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka double pivot there, which gives a lot of freedom for Martinelli.
A lot of freedom
and Saka,
correct.
Because that front four were all over the place in that first half. I mean, all over the place, as in all over the pitch, putting in that work
in a good way,
hard and to be fair, I think Leeds have been they've not been top form the past few weeks, and definitely they've missed a lot of their main players, their main defenders there. I think they've missed Liam Cooper as well as a centre back, because they've had to play Luke Ayling as centre back with Robin Koch and Stuart Dallas. Calvin Phillips, especially that midfield, is such a big miss. But I was very impressed with Gabriel Martinelli, because I was speaking to one of my Arsenal friends, and we had spoken about Gabriel Martinelli a long time ago when he broke through, that first season. I remember, he was practically unknown player. But what I like about him is his work rate. I feel like his pressing and his work rate is what creates those chances for him, because a lot of the times he's running on, he's already on his bike, when the chances are happening, and he's very lively in the box as well. And I feel that kind of work rate, I don't think he'd get the goals if he didn't have that work rate. Aside from his talent, obviously he has the talent, he has that blistering pace. I think he's very lightning on the counter attack, but I feel it's his work rate and just his positioning, attacking awareness that gets him all these goals.
Yeah.
Just all around very smart player. That's all I'm saying.
No, and I think since you've mentioned Gabriel Martinelli, I think there are a few things that we can talk about before we talk about the game.
Yeah.
Because Arsenal has had a torrid week in terms of dealing with strikers, because obviously the Aubameyang situation has not helped at all. So I think the statement of intent from people like Emil Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, even the midfielders, I think as a team, I thought Arsenal really, really shone well over the other day when they played Leeds. Leeds and Arsenal is one of my favorite fixtures to kind of look back and reminisce about, because there have been lots of classic Leeds United Arsenal games. Mark Viduka and all of these fellas, So I was really hoping for a end-to-end sort of a game, which is bringing me to talk a little bit about Leeds, because I think we've waxed lyrical about Arsenal a little bit, and I think fair play to them, because they've beaten whatever that's come in front of them. And again, the week hasn't been really good. I think the Aubameyang situation it's left a little bit of a blurry feeling in terms of Arsenal, the captaincy. Because this is the second captain they fired.
On a lot of friends' tongues, especially, like he's left a bad taste in a lot of friends' mouths when a lot of them have been sort of, proclaiming his name, basically, and a lot of them have had praise and support for Aubameyang until this last situation.
Yeah, and this has been the second captain, I think, that they've in a way fired for what, last 18 months or so. Yeah. So they responded well in terms of footballing terms. But I just want to talk a little bit about Leeds, right? Because the thing about Marcelo Bielsa, he's rated very highly. He's rated very highly, Jerry. I think when you look at coaches in Europe, I think he's not say up there the top two with Klopp and Pep and all of these things, but you don't exclude him from the conversation. But I'm just not seeing it at Leeds, man. I think a lot of people would say that, oh yeah, injuries, and he's brought us up this way and things like that. But they keep on getting steamrolled. Don't you think, Jerry? I mean, they're going to play Liverpool this weekend, I think. There's going to be another 4-5-0, I think. And I mean, of course, I may be shocked, but because stranger things have happened. But Leeds keep on playing kamikaze football, man.
Yeah. That's the thing. What I feel about Bielsa is he's so headstrong, right? Yeah, and he cares about his reputation, that he doesn't want to play the game the ugly way.
Correct. Yeah.
Because if he were to grind out a result with Leeds, he'd have to play very, very backwards football.
Conservative.
Conservative. And I feel like he just doesn't want to lose that respect as the manager who just goes all out, That's the thing. Because I mean, obviously, over the years, managers have been very vocal in press conferences, especially managers of big teams like Ferguson, Wenger, now with Klopp and Guardiola. They don't like playing teams who shut them out, basically, and nullify them. They like playing teams who are open and can go ahead and toe to toe, right?
Exactly.
And they get very annoyed and they say it's not proper tactics, it's not proper football, and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes I understand managers who need to do that to get results, because it's a results game, You guys so sometimes managers need to grind out results, like we said, and play negative football so that at least you can nullify certain teams. If not, he's just gonna be constantly opened up,
Correct.
by these teams. Just basically laid down and spanked by the bigger teams, because they just have the resources, they have the players that Marcelo Bielsa doesn't have at Leeds. What he has at Leeds is the passion and the fans, And I feel if he uses that to sometimes try to block teams from running through them, I think it could work. I think the fans would be behind him all the way.
Yeah, no, and again, if you're going to want to play open, expensive football, I think honestly, in today's modern game, you really need the exact team for it. You need the 11 players for it. And I don't think Leeds United at the moment have got all those kind of players. And I think generally when everybody's fit, I think you can say that they can take games to opponents. You remember last season's Man City game where I think it was a 2-2 or a 1-1 or something like that, I think. And Leeds were very, very attacking. Even the game at Anfield, the opener last season, if you remember, they were
4-3.
really good. Yeah, 3-2 or something like that, 4-3 or something. Yeah.
4-3,
So, but
4-3.
yeah, so but he can't be doing it game in, game out whenever you don't have
he can't
first
play
11.
those. He can't play that style when he's missing his biggest midfield general.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
Because Calvin Phillips is a big part of that style of play, right?
Yeah.
And if you're
yeah.
missing the main player in that style of play, you have to switch up your tactics and try
Definitely.
And Leeds has always been, they've always been branded since the Don Revie days as dirty Leeds, basically.
Correct.
They weren't the most beautiful of teams to watch, but they were Leeds and they were hard to beat. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think they should start becoming that team which is hard to beat,
Correct.
Aside from what people would say, obviously all the journalists and all the managers will have bad things to say about that. But as long as
it's part and
Leeds
parcel,
are
it's part and parcel.
part and parcel of the game, and that's what makes the game beautiful. So moving on to the beautiful game. Wasn't really a beautiful game between Leeds and Wolves. It was quite a dull game. Obviously, there were chances, but it seems like the Hayes was the top performer on the day. I feel Chelsea were definitely missing their main players. I think they were missing the likes of definitely Lukaku, Havertz, and Werner. I think that was the biggest miss on the day. Obviously, with the likes of Chalobah, Jorginho. I'm sorry, not Chalobah. Hudson-Odoi, Jorginho, and Kante. Kante was playing. Sorry, Hudson-Odoi and Jorginho missing. Right. So what they did was they played their usual system, but with Christian Pulisic on top. Playing a central striker, which I feel did not work out, because I was thinking to myself, why couldn't Tuchel have played a 4-3-3 with Pulisic, Ziyech, and Mount, right? Because Mount could have been that middle, maybe, or they could have rotated. Three of them could have rotated. But I feel that this style that Thomas Tuchel plays, right, the 3-4-2-1. Right, or whatever, basically that 5-5-4-1, whatever formation he plays, but he does play with that center backs at the back. I think that formation suffers when you don't have the personnel, right?
Oh yeah, it does.
On that day, Chelsea looked like they could not unlock Wolves, because yes, they had a few chances, but I felt Wolves were the more threatening team and had the better chances. If it was just for better finishing, I think Wolves could have come away with a result there.
Yeah, Daniel Podence and all these fellas, they had good chances.
Yeah, because obviously Marcos Alonso was suspect for a few of those chances, and I was watching it. I was actually watching it with my Chelsea fan cousin now. So my cousin had come down and we're watching the match together, and he was basically saying that a lot of Chelsea's goals come from that left-hand side. As good as Alonso is, right, bombing forward, he does make a lot of defensive mistakes at the back. What my friend said, that my cousin said, he said that ever since Chilwell was missing from the team, Chelsea have been looking a lot more
vulnerable
a lot more goals. Yes, they've been looking a lot more vulnerable. But my whole thing for that match was that if Tuchel is going to play with that same formation and that same system, he's going to have the players for it, because Pulisic up top was completely isolated. He was completely isolated. He could not get into the game. And I was just thinking, why can't you just go with a quick 4-4-3? 4-3-3 to cut through the opposition, right? And play Ziyech, Mount, and Pulisic in a way that could help them. But with Pulisic on his own up top, right? He was just completely isolated and could not get into the game. There were times where I even forgot he was on the pitch.
I think when you look at Thomas Tuchel, I think comparing him with Klopp and Guardiola, I think he's the most defensive, or rather conservative, out of the three, if you think about it.
Right. Yeah.
And
for sure.
I think in his mind, see, if the game would have been played at Stamford Bridge, I honestly think he would have went with the 4-3-3, right?
Right.
But I think because it's an away game, because Wolves are a tricky, fast team.
Tricky opposition,
tricky opposition.
And Wolves are hard to break down. I feel Wolves are more hard to break down than they are attacking on the counter.
Correct. Totally spot on. We saw how Liverpool had to final dying embers of the game.
Literally the last chance of the match, last kick of the game.
And I think he had that at the back of his head. And I think,
Yeah.
he didn't want them to be cutting through Chelsea like just ribbons, and
Mhm.
honestly, with the Pulisic thing, I think if Lukaku would be 100% fit, and I don't know why Werner didn't play, but I think if they were available towards him at his disposal, fitness-wise, I think Pulisic wouldn't have started. I think Pulisic is one of those players where I think Tuchel does not really fully trust in the team,
Right. Right.
to do the duties. That's why
Mhm.
you could have seen it. You saw it in the game. Yeah, you're right. Pulisic was isolated and he didn't give Chelsea that outlet. And I think, honestly, looking at Chelsea's striking problems, because even when Werner and Lukaku are totally 100% fit, I don't know whether they can play up to these people's strengths. And I think that Chelsea's striking problems are going to be the reasons for me where the title may be won or lost. And again, to Chelsea's side of things, I think I wouldn't want to say that they are out of it. I think it's still a bit too early.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing about Liverpool and City, I don't see them, I really don't see them dropping points drastically. I mean, I know Liverpool, in a way, dropped 2 points, but I think City, Liverpool, they're sort of the teams where they can go on a 10, 12 game run, and I just don't see at the moment Chelsea, they're in a bit of a bad streak at the moment. Draws, not able to get goals, too heavily reliant on players like Mason Mount. And yeah, Marcus Alonso, I think if you speak to every objective Chelsea fan, I think they would tell you that Marcus Alonso is not the guy. Definitely, he's not the guy,
Mhm.
and he might be good. He might be good at taking free kicks. I know he's really good at taking a free kick and so on and so forth. But
He
I
has
really
the
think
attacking threat,
attacking threat is okay. But I think Ben Chilwell is a big miss because Ben Chilwell is the total package. I think Ben Chilwell is good defensively as well. And that to me is the miss. Yeah, and attacking wise as well. But yeah, Chelsea two points dropped. I think,
Contribution. Yeah.
yeah, 2 points dropped, massively dropped. And I think that with Liverpool dropping points and so on and so forth, I think Chelsea would have viewed this as very much as a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I mean, what do you think they're out of the race? What do you think?
No, definitely not. I do not think they're out of the race, but it all depends on I can give you an answer by the end of January when things become a lot more clearer. Because like the game, my vision is a bit hazy now, looking into the future. But I'm okay. Just going by, since we talked about goals and scoring, right? So obviously Chelsea on 38 points now, behind Liverpool on 41 and 44. So it's not that much, to be honest. I don't think it's big enough.
Fine margins,
yeah.
Yeah.
And we look for goals for and goals against, right? So City have 44 goals scored this season, and they are on 35 goal difference, basically, 9 conceded. Liverpool have 50 goals, 15 conceded, 35 as well, goal difference. Chelsea on 39 goals, 12 conceded, and 27 goal difference. So that 27 goal difference is not that far behind Liverpool and City's 35. So it's 35, 35, 27, which I mean, comparing to Arsenal, which is a 4, their goal difference is 4. So, I mean, Chelsea are not far off. I think they've just recently hit a blip, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's Tuchel's challenge now to try and get them out of it and get them firing again. So it's going to be a big challenge because I saw for the Brentford EFL Cup game tonight with Chelsea, they've drawn, I think, 9 players out of their academy and literally names we've hardly even heard of before, So Tuchel is definitely struggling, but I think he will take the challenge and he will, he's not going to complain. He's just going to try to do the best that they can. But what I feel Thomas Tuchel needs to do in England especially is have multiple ways and multiple formations.
Yeah,
if
you have to.
Formation, it's going to be easy for teams to figure him out. I felt going with a 4-3-3 to Wolves, already with a sort of depleted squad, you got nothing to lose. I felt he could have gone with a 4-3-3 just to throw them out, because 4-3-3 will cut through Wolves very well. Because if you play that wide style that Tuchel is playing, you're just going to go head to head with Wolves because they play wide as well. So you're playing them at their game, sort of, each team is playing each other at their game. So obviously it's going to be a game where both teams are shutting each other out. Whereas if he had gone for a 4-3-3, I feel he could have cut through Wolves' defense a lot easier. But obviously if buts and maybes, and we can't confirm that, but I think Chelsea are not out of it. I still think they are in contention. It's just interesting to see how, because who knew, Al? I think we were looking at a fixture list and we thought his challenge would come in the first few games because Chelsea had a really difficult run of games.
Yeah, difficult run the start.
Yeah.
But he aced that lah. He aced that part of. Yeah, he did well at the start of the season, and I think now it's a little bit of a blow. But I think looking at Chelsea, looking at a Chelsea perspective, Tuchel's got to be sorting it soon because of the African Cup of Nations, and I think that would be sort of like a small little neutralizing point. I think because with Liverpool losing perhaps some of their best players. And you don't want Chelsea to be losing points if they're going to be in this title race. If they want to fight for this title race, I think it's vital for them to still be in touching distance, because another draw or two, that's going to be really hurting their ambitions. Because again, like I said, I really don't see, even with the African Cup of Nations here, I really don't see how the City and Liverpool are going to be dropping points because they are grinding out results. I think City also grinded out a result, and City, Liverpool almost always seem to have a plan, have an answer to every question that's posted to them. But hey, time will only tell.
Yeah, but to be fair, Chelsea have still looked defensively all right. Comparing to Liverpool the other day without Van Dijk and Fabinho, I think Liverpool would suffer more without Van Dijk and Fabinho.
Yeah,
it's
the goals lah. I think the goals is the problem lah.
Definitely, right. The goals is the problem for Chelsea, and they just need to. They can't be relying on Mason Mount to get the goals. Yeah. So moving on from this match, speaking about goals, wow, City just can't stop scoring goals for the moment. Ruben Diaz, Cancelo, Mahrez, and Sterling with 4 goals on the day to beat Newcastle, right? And Cancelo probably now one of the best right backs in the world. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think.
Without a doubt.
Fair, when Cancelo came from Juventus, I thought he was just going to be a squad player, right? I thought it would still be Walker, it would still be Benjamin Mendy, obviously, with the issues that transpired and everything. I didn't really feel Cancelo would be the main player in that team.
The main guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's now become one of the main attacking outlets, right, of that team. And defensively, he's doing well, but attacking-wise, he's also carrying the team and even getting a goal on the day. Obviously, I think Newcastle will be a bit disappointed with that result. They would be looking to get some sort of result out of the game. And there was a decision that went against their OAL, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the penalty. I think was it a
Yeah, it was a penalty. Penalty call. Because I can't remember, because to be honest, I didn't watch the match, right? So I was just and I don't think I watched the highlights either. So that was a bit of a blip on my part. But just going by the game alone, I think you could tell that's just on fine form on that day.
Yeah, no, I think with City, I think honestly coming into the game, looking at this, and I watched the rerun of this game, actually, some parts of it, and I think with Newcastle is on paper, I think everybody would just say that they aren't very good. People are calling them not very good team, and almost and always 3-point for the opposition. But they played Liverpool in the last game, and they played City in 2 games ago. They played Liverpool. Then the last game they played City, and the thing is they look decent, I would say, in moments. Some people like Shelby, Almiron, and all that. It's almost as though if this were to be a futsal 15-minute game, I think Newcastle would be in it. But if it's a 45-minute game, I think Newcastle just don't have that tactical nuance to actually go against these teams. Because the way I look at it, City were obviously the better team on the day. I think players like Mahrez, Sterling, and all that, they had really good games. Of course, Cancelo goes without saying. Goal and an assist. I think that's fantastic, for any defender for that matter. But City just look very comfortable. Even when they don't look comfortable, you kind of think, they've got it under control. Zinchenko also coming into the squad also is giving them like a small little rotation here and there. which is keeping everybody fit. If anything, if I'm gonna be nitpicky, I may say that Aymeric Laporte may be that target point for big teams to sort of target. I think that I wouldn't say weak link, but maybe the ones which are not on par with your Cancelos and your Ruben Diaz and all these fellas and all that. Not that he's a bad player, I just think that maybe he has weaknesses towards his game that teams can target. But over and above everything, I think City were very dominant. Gabriel Jesus playing in the striker position. Obviously, he didn't get a goal, he got an assist. But, City don't play with an out-and-out striker. We know that already. And again, man, I just don't see how City are going to be dropping points. I think I think the only thing that maybe we can talk about City as a talking point other than football, or maybe towards a small little critic towards them. Did you hear that Grealish and Phil Foden had a night out?
So yeah, Grealish and Foden had a night out after Leeds, and they didn't turn up to training in the right conditions. So Guardiola dropped them basically, which I found like completely hilarious, because
I know.
Jack Grealish already having bad influence on Foden, Oh man, no, but I think it's a non-issue, to be honest. I think both of them have been performing. I think they have been performing. They have a right to have a night out. And I think Guardiola did the right thing. He just sets the tone. If you're not right for training, I'm going to drop you for the match. And they were both dropped for the match. I think Grealish wasn't even. He was on the bench. Both of them were on the bench, but
both of them were on the bench. Yeah.
But I feel it's a non-issue. I do think players have to have. They do have to get away from it. I think if you're thinking like a footballer, I mean, if you're football 24/7, I think it could take a toll. Obviously, they're not like Henderson, Milner, or like a Harry Kane,
stay at home kind of fellas, huh?
Yeah. I mean, those fellas, they live for football, and you can tell they do live for football, right?
Yeah.
I think the new generation of youngsters, they do like that life a little bit, right? But they just have to find the balance, because I still feel that Phil Foden, I'm going to say it now, I think he's England's brightest talent at the moment. And he could go on to be one of the best players in the country, but he has to have that David Silva mentality, because I mean, I've heard Micah Richards and Nigel de Jong talking about it, and they used to say that Silva loves a night out, and he would be the last man standing on a night out, but then he would walk into training the next day and it looked like he's not even had a drink, I mean, you have to have that sort of attitude. You can have the nights out, but your hunger for that competition, your hunger for that level has to be there. And I think with Guardiola, it's just a matter of giving them a tap on their wrists and then basically telling them, how can you bounce back from this, And I feel it's a real non-issue. The only issue I have with players who are not performing at all throughout the season, and then they still have this off field antics. I feel. I mean, that's the real toxic issue.
That you can't accept.
If you're not performing, you're not showing up for training, and then you're going out and having this life. I feel that even as a normal person, Al, you and me working in your job, me working in my job. Yeah, I mean, in the weekends I used to go out have a drink too.
No, we need to just free
I remember
mind.
after because I used to work 60 hours a week, right? So Saturdays I'd be so exhausted, but I buy 2 bottles of soju, 2 cans of beer, and I come back and get absolutely wasted, right? And then Sunday I'll just recover, and Monday I'll go back to work again. But in no way did that stop my performance at work, right?
Yeah, work,
Work is work. Yeah. I mean, I was working in a place, Al. I mean, working at Honda with all those lads there. I mean, they used to drink during work, man. They used to have their little mixtures, But I shall not really get into that, But yeah. I mean, the whole point being is that you can have these drinks and nights out, but I think it's all finding the balance and still keeping that hunger for what you do there. Because let's be real, footballers, yes, they do work a job, but I think their job entails them having fun and the level in which they have fun at,
Yeah.
So I think they just need.
I think with some managers, they're really strict about this, And I think that's why, again, Phil Foden, I think is a non-issue because he's performing very well. You see,
Yeah.
Aubameyang, it's an issue because he's not performing very well. He's late to North London derbies. He's not showing up, on time during training, and all these antics, which is becoming an issue.
Yeah.
You see, and
Yeah.
that's the major difference. You see, Paul
Yeah.
Pogba, right? The
With
hair thing
Aubameyang,
wouldn't
I
be an
think he had
issue.
gone to France to like fetch his mother or something, and she was
Yeah.
having some health issues. Obviously, he would want to do stuff like that. But what I think
understandable.
he had done,
Yeah.
he had gone to France without telling the team and without telling Arteta.
Correct. So
And
that
that's a
that
big
side of things also, you
Yeah.
got to see it from the perspective of the team as well.
Yeah.
Even just to touch upon this very quickly, Paul Pogba, if he were to be a consistent player, he could dye his hair in the color of a unicorn or a rainbow or whatever. Nobody would give a toss. But it's
Yeah.
all this.
Pogba could have turquoise
inconsistent-
hair. He could have turquoise hair, man.
Yeah.
He could have shellfish pink hair. So, and none of the Man
Yeah.
United fans would care if he was performing week in, work out.
Exactly.
week in, week out.
Exactly.
And I think with Grealish and Foden, to be fair, they've been performing well. Obviously, Grealish hasn't hit the heights that you would expect of a $100 million player, But I think he has had moments in this season. And a lot of the times, Grealish has performed for the team. So he's not had an individual, like, great 5-star performance, but he's had a 5-star team performance, right? And with Foden, I can pick out so many moments this season where he's had individual 5-star performances. And team 5-star
Liverpool
performances as
away.
well. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I think Guardiola's a master at managing these talents, these young talents. Yeah, and I don't think it's an issue because I remember a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the 16-17 season or 17-18. No, I think it was the 16-17 season, and Firmino got charged for drink driving, basically. So it was a minor charge. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. This
It
is
wasn't.
it
wasn't a heavy DUI, but it was still a DUI, right? But Klopp had played him in the weekend, and he had scored in the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And that situation never happened with Firmino again. And now when you go on Firmino's Instagram, it's all about Jesus and God, and he's a very, very religious person. You should really, he got baptized. Ever since Alisson came to Liverpool, Firmino got baptized.
Yeah.
But aside from that, guys, I think that's all we have time for this week. We will definitely try to cover the matches for you as much as we can, so that we can just give you what we usually do. And have a good Christmas and have a great end of the year for all those listening. And thank you for listening with us so far.
Thank you
Bye,
for
guys.
listening, and Merry Christmas to you guys. And very lastly,
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
and very lastly, just a very quick one, just our brothers in Selangor, sisters in Selangor, stay strong, and hopefully you guys pull through lah.